courageous in love. To open the heart like a lilac in May, knowing freeze is possible and opening anyway. To take love seriously, to give love wildly, to race up to the world as if I were a puppy, adoring and unjaded, stumbling on my own exuberance. To feel the shock of indifference, of anger, of cruelty, of fear, and stay open. To love as if it matters, as if the world depends on it.
Before I start, I'll say I'm aware of the time, but luckily what I wrote is pretty short, so we're going to be okay. We have a busy morning. So in case you've been here before and this story I'm about to tell rings a bell for you, I'll just confess that I have told this story before, but it's just so good, and I don't think you memorize every word that comes through this microphone, right? So I am a swimmer. I swim because it's good for me, but if I'm honest, I mostly do it for the post-swim high I get. I swim laps and I listen to music, and often it just feels like dancing. And those feel-good chemicals are addictive in a good way. On a spring day several years ago, as I was leaving the pool all relaxed and refreshed, I walked past a large passenger van with a man who was using a wheelchair parked nearby. The man pressed a button on the van, and the side of the van slid open. A ramp unfolded itself and extended out from the driver's seat onto the pavement. I had never seen anything like it, and so I stopped to watch. "Wow," I said to the man who was seated, "that's amazing." And he grinned widely, and he began telling me all about his van, when and where he had bought it, how much better it was than the old one, and how it had given him more freedom to go where he pleased. We chatted a while, just being amazed at technology and celebrating what this meant in his life. As we were talking, though, I began to notice things. First was his hat that said veteran. Now, there are many people I know and love dearly who are veterans, but if a scale exists where militarism is on one end and pacifism and anti-militarism are on the other end, I'm over this way. We kept talking and I kept noticing, and the next thing I noticed was the Trump 2016 bumper sticker. This was just after the 2016 election, and part of the reason I went swimming in that time was to work off some of my fear and frustration brought about by his rhetoric and his election. Then there was a National Rifle Association t-shirt. I've never touched a gun, and I have never wanted to, because when I think about them, all I can think about is their precise design to rupture flesh. I quickly became aware of this split in my consciousness. All the time I'm having this very pleasant conversation with this man about his delight with his van, and knowing that if we met under other circumstances, we might see one another as enemies. How would he treat me if he had seen my hippie bumper stickers, my rainbow chalice tattoo, or known my views on politics or religion or war or guns? If I showed up at his home, hungry and tired, would he offer me the red brocade pillow and feed me for 3 days before asking anything about myself? An even bigger question, would I do the same for him? And once we knew more about each other, would I accept an invitation to get to know him better? And would he do that for me? Naomi Shihab Nye's poem, Red Brocade, is on the surface very specific: how to treat a stranger who appears at your door. It highlights an ethic of hospitality in Arab and Muslim culture. The instructions, interestingly, are parallel to the teachings of Jesus to care for the stranger, the widow, the poor, in the way that Jesus spoke to Mary and Martha about hospitality, and in the way that Jesus stressed how we are all connected, that what is done to anyone is the same as doing it to all of us. To tend to the stranger's needs for basic needs for food and rest is important before you satisfy your curiosity about where they are going. To risk your time and energy for this stranger before you move on to business, and to come to know them as a human being before you make your judgments about what they do in the world. In this poem, curiosity is encouraged, but it's not the kind of curiosity that is self-serving, not grilling a tired and hungry person about where they came from and what they plan to do next, but instead a curiosity about what it is they need and what it is they want in this life and in this moment, and providing the things you can simply because this is a human being here in front of you. You don't need to know anything else. Today, we welcomed new members into this congregation. Those of you who are already members have pledged to be hospitable. And so I wonder how we can be like that speaker in Red Brocade for all those new visitors and all those new members and all of our visitors, to focus on meeting the needs that they come with. We don't offer literal lodging, but we can offer a safe place for spiritual exploration, a space that helps people meet their needs for connection and to work with others for justice. And I remind you that this is work that belongs not just to the welcome team, not just to our greeters, but to all of us. It's an important way to live our values. Another way to live our values is described in the poem that Anne read, called What Can I Do? It says that the invitation when we feel frightened or helpless or insufficient in the face of the trouble in this world is to be ridiculously courageous in love. She writes, the invitation is to take love seriously, to give love wildly, to race up to the world as if I were a puppy, adoring and unjaded, stumbling on my own exuberance. I'm sure you can all imagine a puppy running towards you. They are a little goofy. They're clumsy. They make mistakes. They run toward new things and new people with their tongues out and they're ready to have a new experience. And even when a puppy meets something that is not so friendly, they try again. The poet writes that when rejected, here's what we should do. When you feel the shock of indifference, of anger, of cruelty, of fear, stay open. Love as if it matters, as if the world depends on it. Love as if it matters, as if the world depends on it. This is the kind of love that we are called to. This is the love that we put in the center of our values. It's not wimpy Valentine's Day, I love you. It is powerful and beautiful and heart-changing and world-changing, and it is not easy. I want to remind you that this kind of open-hearted love for others in the world, you need to also extend to yourself. Loving yourself courageously, ridiculously also matters, and the world also depends on it. Sometimes we know that love also means having good boundaries in a relationship with someone who is not good for us, and the love for ourselves takes precedence. Our faith declares that this love is the guiding force in our lives, that it animates all of our other shared values, that it is powerful and it does matter, and the world does depend on it. Do you believe it? Maybe? I can't tell. I believe in it. Friends, visitors, members, both longtime and new just today, I am glad you are here, together in this space, on this journey and in this faith. Let us practice together, as the poet says, walking down the street, heart first, because love calls us on. Our faith calls us on. Hope calls us on, and indeed life itself calls us on. Amen, and may it be so.